Hi, my name is Paige Stein, and this is my COVID-19 analysis story for my BA 513 final project. Before I deep dive into this, I just wanted to start off by saying getting to analyze the COVID-19 data has been an interesting experience. Not only do we get to analyze this data as the world is adapting to the COVID-19 virus, but this pandemic has affected all aspects of our lives to the point where there are many attributes to consider choosing from to analyze. That being said, the main topic that I'm interested in analyzing is which types of people, by gender, age, and race, have been affected the most by the COVID-19 virus in the US. I know this is a pandemic, is worldwide, however, for data constriction-wise, I just chose to analyze the US. So the three main questions that this analysis is going to answer are the following. How many people have been hospitalized by the COVID-19 in the US? Which age groups and race origin groups have been affected the most in the US? And how do other illnesses compare with the COVID-19 virus? To start off my analysis, I created a bar chart that shows the number of people who have been hospitalized during the COVID-19 pandemic in the United States. Each of the 50 states are broken out, and their total number of people hospitalized in each state is labeled out to the side here. As you can see, New York, California, and Florida are the top 3 states that have the highest number of hospitalizations throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. The next chart is another bar chart that was created to analyze the number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 and the recorded number of deaths for each state in the US. Again, down here you can see the 50 states listed below. The confirmed number of cases is going to be in this blue color here, and the recorded deaths are going to be in red. One thing to take note about this chart is that it has a filter to only show these numbers as of April 30th, 2020. This allows you to see a snapshot of the numbers up to this certain date. And as you can see, New York has the highest confirmed cases and recorded deaths up until April 30th of 2020, and New Jersey is quickly behind it, which makes sense since the majority of this pandemic started in our bigger cities, especially around the New York area. The next chart is a line chart that analyzes COVID-19 deaths by age group over the weeks listed below. So from very first date is January 26, 2020, and it ends May 3rd of 2020. The age ranges are from 1 to 85 years old, and we have a small group here that's under 1 year, which doesn't show on the chart. The age group of 85 and older is the highest point on the chart here. So this age group has the highest number of deaths from the COVID-19 virus. It can also be determined that between late March here and late March and early April is when the US had been hitting its highest peak of deaths, and fortunately the number of deaths has been declining ever since. This next chart is a population pyramid that analyzes the number of females and males who were confirmed with the COVID-19 virus in San Francisco, and it breaks them down by age groups. I chose to do this chart in order to drill down into the data and look at one city instead of all the states. When I started my analysis, I quickly realized that if you summed it down to just, for example, look at the US, you would have a much more easier rotation of attributes and not so much data piled onto one. However, when I started drilling down to looking at different cities within the US, it was kind of interesting to see how they all differ. For example, from some other states that I analyzed, this 81 year plus was the one that actually had the highest number of deaths, or the highest number of confirmed cases here in this case. But when you looked at specifically San Francisco, it actually is the age group that has the highest number of confirmed cases is actually this 31 to 40 age group. In order to create this chart, I actually had to create two new calculated fields, male and female. These were created using if-then statements that looked up the gender attribute in the data table and then found its corresponding amounts in the confirmed cases attribute in the data table. So, for example, if gender equals female, then the confirmed number of cases for that age group would be lumped together on this female side. Please also note that the male numbers are higher than the female numbers, which can be shown because the male side has a different axis grouping. It actually goes up to 300, while this one only goes to 160. And again, even though it appears that males make up the most of the confirmed cases in San Francisco, the age group of 31 to 40 seems to have the highest number of confirmed cases for both females and males. So this age group has been more affected by the COVID-19 virus in this city. The next chart is a pie chart that analyzes the number of deaths in the U.S. by race origin group. It was found that 74.22% of the deaths by the COVID-19 virus in the U.S. are of people who have a white race origin classification. And quickly following behind it is African Americans at 12.69%, a total of 318,173 deaths. And Hispanics is the third, at 8.67% total. And then total deaths is 217,366. Again, off to the side here, we can go into more depth about the different other origin groups. For instance, American Indian and Alaskan and Native is another example that's part of this, Asian and Pacific Islanders. And even though they haven't been affected as much, definitely those who have a white race origin classification have suffered the most in the U.S. My final chart here shows the comparison between influenza, pneumonia, and COVID-19 deaths in the U.S. When compared to other big diseases that have had high death numbers, COVID-19 still has the highest death numbers out of all three of these diseases. And also, out of all three of these diseases, the elderly population has had the higher risk factor and the number of deaths, as you can see here. As well as, for instance, the influenza, they only had around 8.8 thousand deaths, while pneumonia had 25,000 roughly, and COVID-19 still trumps all three of them with almost 35,000 deaths for this specific age group. But in total, with all the age groups even, COVID-19 has the most deaths out of these three. So in conclusion for my project, I concluded that millions of people in the United States have been hospitalized from the COVID-19 virus. The people who have the highest death rates are those who are elderly and those high-risk age groups. The race origin groups that have had the most confirmed cases of the virus is white or non-Hispanic origin. And finally, when you compare COVID-19 to other past epidemics, COVID-19 has the highest death rates. So it just makes this analysis all that more important, and that we pay attention and learn how to survive and adapt to our lives, continuing moving forward with this virus in our lives. And even though my analysis focuses on the US, the COVID-19 pandemic, like I said, has affected everyone else worldwide, and we will have to continue to adapt to our surroundings and our new ways of living while this pandemic hopefully starts to decline. And here are my data sources that I use for this project. Again, I hope you learned something from this, and I certainly did doing this project and getting to deep dive into this analysis. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was an interesting topic. Thank you for watching.